Keir Starmer just got hit with a double embarrassment, one from across the Atlantic and one right here at home. As pressure mounts over Labour's increasingly controversial stance on free speech, Starmer made a bold move to avoid a looming economic hit. But instead of scoring a win, he ran straight into a brick wall. Now, with diplomatic tensions rising and public backlash building, the Prime Minister's judgment is under serious scrutiny. So what exactly did Trump shut down? And why is Labour being accused of cracking down on core freedoms? Let's get into it. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. It's not every day that a sitting British Prime Minister gets publicly brushed off by Donald Trump, but that's exactly what just happened to Keir Starmer. And the timing could not be more humiliating. Just as Starmer's Labour government finds itself under fire over its controversial stance on free speech, the Prime Minister was dealt a brutal diplomatic blow. His quiet attempt to convince Trump to spare the UK from looming export tariffs has failed, and it's failed badly. While Downing Street tried to spin it as a status update with no formal request, multiple sources now say Starmer essentially pleaded with Trump for more time to sort out a rushed trade deal before the tariffs hit. Trump's response, a polite "I'll look into it," and not a step further. This isn't just a snub, it's a strategic shutdown. And it couldn't come at a worse moment for Labour. Let's break down what just happened and why the fallout could be huge. First, the tariffs. Trump's Liberation Day tariff plan kicks off tomorrow, April 2nd. It's a sweeping move that will slap new taxes on foreign exports, including those from the UK. Starmer's government has been scrambling to negotiate a narrow tech-focused deal with the US to sidestep the damage, and there were hopes that Trump might play ball. Instead, Starmer's weekend outreach to Trump fizzled. Reports from The Sun say the Prime Minister invited Trump to London this June, offering a platform to sign a new mini-deal in person. But Trump didn't bite. Insiders claim no formal exemption was even requested. But let's be honest, you don't get on a Sunday evening call with Trump just to say hello. One source described the tone of the call as Starmer pleading, not exactly a display of confident diplomacy. Second, the free speech firestorm. At the same time, Starmer was quietly begging for trade leniency. His own government was facing international criticism, from Washington no less, for its crackdown on free expression. The US State Department issued a rare rebuke over what they described as growing concerns about freedom of speech in the UK. The spark, the case of Livia Bolt, a 64-year-old retired scientist currently being prosecuted for holding a small sign outside an abortion clinic that read, "Here to talk if you want." That's it. No shouting, no confrontation, just a sign inviting conversation. She's been charged under a local public spaces protection order for violating a buffer zone around the clinic. She's pleaded not guilty, and the verdict is expected later this week. The optics here are devastating. A US diplomat from the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor met with Bolt during a recent visit, and the message from Washington was sharp. No free trade without free speech. Ouch. A statement from the State Department spelled it out. US-UK relations share a mutual respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. However, we are concerned about freedom of expression in the United Kingdom. That's the US government essentially telling Britain to get its house in order or risk consequences. And then there's Labour's response. Instead of defending the principle of free expression, Labour is doubling down. Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds tried to do damage control this morning, telling Sky News that Britain is taking a calm-headed approach and that a reversal of the tariffs could still happen in weeks or months. But that's hardly reassuring. He admitted there's no timetable and even floated the possibility of retaliatory tariffs if things continue to stall. Translation: Labour's strategy now depends on waiting for Trump to change his mind. That's not policy, that's wishful thinking. So what are we left with? A Prime Minister caught between economic damage and a human rights scandal. A government that appears weak on trade and even weaker on free speech. And Trump, who could very well return to the White House, clearly unimpressed with Starmer's pitch. Livia Bolt's trial may be a small local case on the surface, but it has become a global symbol of Britain's creeping censorship. And now it's a wedge in international diplomacy. And as Trump's Liberation Day tariffs go into effect, the UK risks being isolated, economically and ideologically. This moment is more than a failed trade call. It's a wake-up call. Starmer is discovering, the hard way, that you can't buy prosperity abroad while cracking down on freedoms at home. In other news, pubs across the UK are facing a cliff edge as COVID-era takeaway alcohol rules expire today, according to industry leaders. Emma McClarkin, CEO of the British Beer and Pub Association, expressed disappointment over the government's decision. We see this cliff edge coming in on April 1st with more than £650 million being added to the beer and pub sector, she told the media. Pubs wishing to continue selling takeaway drinks must now apply for special status, McClarkin said. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has decided to let the temporary legislation expire on March 31st, delivering another setback to the hospitality sector. The popular change to drinking laws was introduced during the pandemic, but will now end without government intervention. This comes as a fresh blow to pubs and breweries, already struggling with rising costs. The industry had hoped the government would make the COVID-era rule permanent to support businesses. The licensing laws were relaxed in 2020 as a lifeline to pubs struggling during COVID lockdowns. This temporary measure allowed license holders to sell alcohol for delivery or takeaway to customers, even if they had previously only been permitted to sell drinks on site. The takeaway pint really caught on during the pandemic, McClarkin noted. Many pubs adapted their business models and added additional income streams through this provision. McClarkin urged the Prime Minister to reconsider his position on the issue. We're really disappointed that the government has not made this easement a permanent one, she said. She questioned the logic behind the decision, noting there hadn't been widespread problems with takeaway alcohol sales. We haven't had any widespread issues with this, so we hope they would take this very positive step to reduce the admin and burden on our businesses. She called on Starmer to show common sense in his approach. Labour Policing Minister Diana Johnson acknowledged the government's disappointment over the situation. We are disappointed that there was not a consensus in favour of retaining an easement from which many pubs and pub-goers have benefited, she said. Johnson emphasised the government's commitment to supporting the pub trade despite the decision. We therefore want to make it as simple as possible for those pubs who wish to continue making off sales to secure the licensing permission to do so from their local authorities. The expiry of takeaway alcohol rules adds to mounting pressures on the pub industry, which is already facing a £3.4 billion tax raid from Rachel Reeves's budget. We need to see from this government how it is going to help our pubs and breweries going forward, because times are getting very tough, McClarkin warned. Pub owners must now navigate additional administrative hurdles at a time when the sector is struggling with financial challenges. The industry continues to call for more support measures to ensure its survival. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.